The manhwa opens with the FL and ML stuck in a car, buried in painful silence. Yeju Lee squeezes her face like it might save her, while Shin Woo-cho taps the steering wheel, clearly irritated. In her head, she's panicking because what are you even supposed to say after that kind of night? Then, suddenly, he calls her name. She flinches. He asks who he is to her. Yeju thinks that she wishes she had no idea, but unfortunately, she knows exactly who he is. Shin Woo-cho, heir to Taihan Corporation, filthy rich, ridiculously handsome, and famous for having the worst attitude in Korea. She answers that he's her brother's friend, and that instantly sets him off. Is that really all she has to say to the man she crossed a very serious line with? He demands to know why she disappeared after that night, and Yeju's face turns red as she thinks, seriously, who took advantage of who here? His personality is so bad even his own father gave up fixing it, so why should she bother explaining herself? Besides, she wasn't the only one who enjoyed it, and she remembers that night very clearly. Just last Saturday, she got drunk and made the biggest mistake of her life with her brother's best friend, a memory that refuses to fade. She's pulled out of her thoughts when Shinwoo suddenly grabs her hand, casually pointing out that she isn't wearing a ring, then smiling and asking what he should do about her. Cut to a few days earlier at Yeju's apartment, where she's screaming at her brother Yoon-sung for hiding his pain like an idiot. He weakly says he thought it was stress and didn't know it was his appendix, and Yeju snaps that he's lucky she needed to use the bathroom, or he could have died. Since their parents passed away 15 years ago, Yoon-sung has always been strong, always healthy, so seeing him like this terrifies her. Then he groans that this had to happen on Sunyo's wedding day, saying Shinwoo will be there and can take care of things, which makes Yeju call him completely out of his mind, because Shinwoo being helpful is a joke. In her thoughts, she explains that Sunyo Hwang, the gentle lecturer, Yoon-sung Lee, the calm lawyer, and Shin Woo-cho, the human disaster, have been inseparable since childhood because their fathers were best friends. After her parents died, those families practically raised them. But fate is cruel, because on the very day Yoon-sung is meant to host Sunyo's wedding, his appendix decides to ruin everything. Yeju agrees to go in his place, even though she really doesn't want to. Watching your first love get married is emotional torture. She's liked Sunyo since she was little, and now she has to smile and congratulate him. She gets dressed, heavy rain starts pouring, and she bitterly jokes that even the weather is crying for her. She decides it doesn't matter if she looks cute or not and runs to the hall since it's nearby. She arrives completely soaked, her phone keeps ringing, slips from her hand, and breaks. At that exact moment, Shinwoo walks in while on the phone with Yoon-sung, complaining that it's insane to ask a man with 2 failed engagements to host a wedding, and just like that, the chaos officially begins. Shinwoo and Yeju finally meet up, and Yeju quickly realizes he's on the phone with her brother, so she leans in and whispers for him to tell Yoon-sung that she couldn't answer because her phone broke, but Shinwoo straight up ignores her and just hangs up. In her head, she's shocked, because she wasn't expecting him to be nice, but he could have at least mentioned that she was right there. Instead he pretends she doesn't exist, proving once again that his personality is terrible. Still, she's relieved she ran into someone she knows and starts wondering if she should follow him to the wedding hall. She trails behind him, struggling to keep up, thinking since when were wedding venues this far, until she bumps into him and notices he smells ridiculously good. Shinwoo turns around and asks how long she plans on following him, and she quickly lies that she thought this was the way to the ceremony. He calmly tells her the ceremony is on the 2nd floor, and it finally clicks in her head that they are standing in front of his hotel suite. She whispers if he's planning to skip the wedding, and he vaguely says he'll go later, which surprises her, so she asks why he even came here. He shoots back asking why she cares so much, and she insists she doesn't, but seriously, does he think she can attend a wedding looking like this? He casually brushes her wet hair aside and says it's not her wedding anyway, then unexpectedly asks why she looks like her whole world is falling apart. Yeju freezes, distracted by how unfairly handsome he is, because she's known him forever and still can't get used to that face. She explains that since she's Yoonsung's sister and everyone knows her, she doesn't want to be seen in such a mess. So Shinwoo tells her to come inside and dry off before going. She hesitates but agrees, because showing up soaked would be a disaster, and heads to the bathroom, where she looks in the mirror and realizes she's a complete wreck, thinking no makeup on earth can save her and thanking the universe that Sunyo didn't see her like this. When she comes out, she considers asking Shinwoo to buy her a new outfit, then mutters that she doesn't even want to go anymore, and he bluntly tells her not to go. As he loosens his tie, Yeju wonders why he has to look that good doing absolutely nothing, because Shinwoo may be known for his money and looks, but he's even more famous for endless rumors and wild scandals, though she can't deny that he really is gorgeous. She sits beside him and asks if he's skipping the ceremony, and he says they don't need him there the whole time, making her smile, as she suggests they just show their faces and leave. She grabs a wine bottle and downs a generous amount, saying she'll just appear at the very end, and when Shinwoo asks if she's okay, she snaps that she's an adult and can handle herself, thinking she's tired of everyone treating her like a child. That's exactly why she never got to confess to Sunyo, because he only ever saw her as the baby he knew since she was in a cradle, even now that she's 23. She even dated other guys just to get his attention, only for him to congratulate her like a proud older brother, and she's had enough of being everyone's little sister. She asks how long people plan to keep treating her like a kid, notices Shinwoo's smile, leans closer, and boldly asks him to be intimate with her, because at that moment, Yeju had clearly lost all common sense. Shinwoo bluntly tells Yeju that she's a terrible drunk, should stop pretending to be grown, and should just go join the wedding already, while Yeju fumes inside, because knowing her since childhood doesn't mean she's still a kid. He adds that if she's going to try charming someone, she should probably fix the look on her face first, then casually pours himself a glass of wine, and says she looks like a hamster trying to act tough. In her head, Yeju completely loses it, thinking she's not even treated like a person anymore, just a joke. And why does everyone around her keep looking down on her like she's still some clueless little girl? She's exhausted, offended, and done being talked down to, because she has pride too. She leans closer and asks what she has to do for him to take her seriously, while Shinwoo wonders if she's just naive or completely unaware. He grabs her hand and tells her to come back when she's more grown up, adding that he's sorry, but he's not that desperate, and those words hit her like a switch flipping in her head. That's the final straw. Something snaps. She suddenly lunges at him, aiming for a kiss, but instead bonks into him, and the silence that follows is brutal. Yeju instantly realizes she messed up badly, like, lifetime embarrassment level, wondering how she's ever going to face him again, after literally headbutting him. Shinwoo then cups her face and calmly says that was disappointing, asking if that's really the best she's got after all that talk, and if she's going to make a move, she should at least do it properly. Before her brain can catch up, he kisses her, and Yeju completely panics on the inside, wondering what on earth is happening as things spiral out of control. She thinks she's officially lost her mind, because out of every man on the planet, why did she have to choose Shinwoo to mess with? But he just pulls back slightly and tells her not to leave him hanging, asking where all that confidence from earlier suddenly went. They end up crossing a line, and for Yeju, it's her very first time, so everything happens in a blow of bad decisions and worse timing. Later, when things finally go quiet and they fall asleep, Yeju slowly wakes up and notices an arm wrapped around her that is way too muscular to be hers. That's when reality crashes down on her all at once. She freezes, staring at the ceiling, as her brain replays everything that happened the night before, and her biggest mistake becomes painfully clear. Of all people, of all men on earth, she really went and did it with Shinwoo Cho. She bolts out of the bed, thanking every force in the universe that Shinwoo is still asleep, and days later she's back at the hospital sitting beside her brother, thinking that ever since that night, it's like nothing happened, and the scariest part is that Shinwoo is acting completely normal. She admits to herself that she dragged him into this mess just to forget Sunyo, and no matter the reason, using someone else was never right, especially when that night probably meant nothing to him. To Shinwoo, she's just another girl, Someone he wouldn't even notice disappearing by morning, just like her ex, who could go months without texting if she didn't start first. That relationship was easy to end, but Shinwoo is different, because he's her brother's friend and impossible to avoid. Now she finally understands why girls fall for him after one night, and she hates herself for understanding it, because she cannot get him out of her head no matter how hard she tries. It's not just his looks driving her crazy, it's the comparison she keeps making with her ex Jung Hyun-yo, the soccer player, who looked impressive, but turned out to be all hype and no impact. And suddenly everything about her past relationship makes painful sense. Yoon-sung stares at her and says she's acting suspicious, pointing out her swollen lips, and she quickly lies that she ran into a door, which only makes things worse when he asks why she also missed the wedding. She snaps that she just laid down for a second and passed out, then blames everything on him for letting his appendix explode, ranting that he never eats, never rests, and still thinks she's a kid who needs protection. She tells him she's an adult now and he should worry about himself instead, then randomly asks why he isn't passing gas, completely derailing the conversation. Yoon-sung narrows his eyes and asks why she's dodging the real question, then accuses her of having a boyfriend, but she dodges again just as her phone rings. She answers, expecting spam, but the second she hears that deep, familiar voice, a chill runs down her spine, because there's only one person who would call her like that. Shinwoo. If you're eager for Chapter 2, please subscribe, comment, like, share so we are motivated to bring more recaps with longer episodes.